Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. So in today's video I'm going to be showing you all the books that I read in November. So I'm going to be doing this one a little bit different because normally I tell you the books that I read in order of each month, but I'm going to start off with the physical copy books and then I'm going to move on to like the ones I read on my Kindle. So these aren't in order, I'm just going to be showing you basically everything that I read. So let's just get right into the video. Okay, so one of the books I read in November was Daisy Jones and the Six. This book actually surprised me. I rated it 5 stars. Like, wow. I'm actually surprised. I love the way that it was written in like kind of like an interview style. So I enjoyed that and I found it so fascinating. Like it's slowly discovering what actually happened and why the band actually broke up. And yeah, it was just, I loved it, and I regret putting this off for as long as I did because it's just such an amazing book and I highly recommend. Next one is The Mixtape. This also, again, I think I rated this like 3 stars or something. Okay, so I rated this 3.5 stars and I was actually surprised that I enjoyed this as much as I did. So this is about Oliver and Emery, and Emery has been struggling, like has some like financial struggles, and she also has a daughter, so it's making like things hard, and she lost her job, and so she works at this like bartending place, and that is where she meets Oliver. And Oliver, he recently lost his twin brother Alex, and so he's at the bar, he's got drunk, he starts a bar fight. Emery decides to help him out of this like his troubles, and the whole story goes from there. And obviously then because of the bar fight, Emery got fired from her job, and so and then Oliver feels guilty for it, so he hires her as a chef, and everything goes on from there, and they help each other with all their struggles and grief, and it's a lovely story. So yeah, I also recommend this one. Next one is The American Roommate Experiment. This is also another one I've been putting off for a while, and there is also no reason for it. I decided to rate this 4.5 stars. It was an amazing book. I had a fun time with it. This is about Rosie and Lucas, and you see them, you see Rosie in The Spanish Love Deception, and Rosie is staying at Lena's apartment, and so is Lucas, and so they kind of become roommates, and then they decide to have this experiment because Rosie has writer's block, and it all goes from there. So yeah, again, another one I recommend. It was a very enjoyable read. Next one is I decided to reread After for the 3rd time. I kept this as a 5-star read. There is a reading vlog of this where I give my full review and I give my full opinion, so I'm not gonna explain it all here. But yeah, I decided to give it keep it a 5-star because this book will always have my heart. It got me into reading. It's this book and this series is what gave me the passion for reading, so I think it will always be a 5-star, like no matter what. Next one is You've Reached Sam. So this one I rated 3 stars. It's definitely very heartbreaking and it can be overwhelming. So this is about Julie, and Julie lost her boyfriend Sam, and she decides to like phone his phone just to like hear his voice, but he picks up, and so it's like basically all about that and the interesting and the ending of this book. It destroys you, but it's a heartbreaking story, but such a beautiful story, if that makes sense. So yeah, another one I recommend if you feel like crying. Next one is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I rated this 2.5 stars. This one I didn't really enjoy as much. I was really wanting to enjoy it. I mean, Book Lovers is about Nora and Charlie. Nora is a literature agent and Charlie is an editor. So I really wanted to enjoy this because it's about people who like has something to do with books, and obviously book lovers. I'm a book lover, you know. I just wanted to really like this, and unfortunately I didn't, but you know what, that is okay. Next one is Twisted Hate. Now this one I rated 4 stars. This I really enjoyed. This is about Josh and Jules, and they hate each other. So it's an enemies to lovers kind of thing. but they actually despise each other, and then they decide to have like this friends with benefits thing, and they start to catch feelings, you know, the classical stuff. So yeah, it's an enjoyable read. Next one is The Takeover. I decided to rate this book 5 stars. It was so good, so interesting, and I read it quite quickly actually. So this is about Tristan. I think her name is Claire, and Claire has 3 sons, and she obviously is going through like the trouble because she recently lost her husband, and Tristan is her boss, I believe, and Claire decides to start up like make a dating profile thing, and Tristan sees it and he starts to like talk to her. So they don't know that they are talking to each other, but then, and obviously they are enemies. They're not really a big fan of each other, so keep that in mind. But then Tristan, like, you know, goes to her place and stuff. Anyway, point is they slowly start to get feelings for each other, and it's really good. Next one is The Casanova. So this one I rated 4.75 stars because I enjoyed it, just obviously not as much as the others. So this is about Elliot and Kate, and this is like a dating app under a fake name. Did I get The Takeover and The Casanova mixed up? I think I did. Either way, another great book. I recommend the whole series. Next one is November 9th. I obviously reread this on November 9th. I actually rated this down to 4 stars. I did, when I first rated it 5 stars, but that was because I obviously was new to reading. I didn't really read much, so it was a good book to me then. But I rated it down, but I still really enjoyed it. It's still a good read, and I recommend you read it if you haven't read it, but if you haven't, I'll be surprised. But I feel like it's just tradition as book lovers to be reading November 9th on November 9th. I mean, who wouldn't? Next one is The Midnight Library. I gave this 3.5 stars. It's a very interesting story and something different from what I normally read. So this is about Nora, and Nora decides to end her life. But she's sent to this library, and this library is in between like living and death. And she gets given like loads of different like books which are different paths of lives, and so she gets to experience different lives that she could have had. And so yeah, it's a very interesting book, and I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. That is why I kind of put it off for a while, but I'm glad that I finally got to read it. Next one is Funny You Should Ask. Now this one I rated 4 stars because wow. So this is about, I want to say Chani, I'm so sorry if I've been saying that name wrong, and Gabe. And Gabe is famous, and Chani is hired to kind of like do an interview with him. So she's like questioning him, and then obviously because Gabe's famous, like rumors start to like spread and stuff, and they kind of start to build like this friendship. But then 10 years, they don't speak to each other, but then 10 years later, they meet again, and it all starts. And so yeah, that is basically that book. Next one is The Dead Romantics. This I gave 2.5 stars. The back sounds more interesting than what the actual book is. Now, I'm not saying I despise the book. I was kind of disappointed. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. So this is about Florence, and she can see ghosts, basically. And so she is like seeing this ghost called Benji, and obviously she's met Benji before in real life. He's the editor, and you kind of like see their story, and she kind of starts to fall in love with a ghost. So yeah, very interesting. I recommend reading this around like October time because I read this right at the beginning of the month, and so I still feel like I was late, but not as late as I wanted. But like I said, I was kind of disappointed, but it's still a good book. Next is Red, White and Royal Blue. Now, you're probably glad that I read this this month because this has been on my TBR for so long. If you've been here for a while and you have seen this on every single TBR of mine, and now you're finally relieved, I read it, and I'm so thankful that I read it. I'm glad this can finally be off my TBR. I did it. So this I rated 3 stars. Yes, I was kind of disappointed, but then again, I've never enjoyed a Casey McQuiston book. So I should have known. Like I said in my reading vlog that I did for this, I don't think Casey McQuiston is an author for me, personally. Will I read some of their stuff when, like, if they ever bring out something else? I might give it a go, but I just don't think Casey McQuiston is an author for me, personally. But this is my favourite from Casey McQuiston, personally. So, yeah, that is that. Next one is Twist. I obviously rated this 5 stars. Anything lower would be a crime. Like, this is the 4th book in the Alphabet series. I love the series. The series will always have my heart. I don't want to hear anything bad about the series. It's just great. So this is about a gymnast and coach relationship, and you see the struggles. And this book in particular is focusing on Adriana's illness, because she has lupus, I believe. So yeah, that is the main focus of this book, is just her illness and how she's dealing with that, especially with being a gymnast. So it's very interesting to read. Another one is The Auntie Boyfriend by Penelope Ward. This is also another 5 stars. It took me a while to read, but that was because I was enjoying it and I was annotating it. But wow, this book. So this is about Deacon and Carrie's has a daughter named Sunny. And Deacon is a neighbour, and Carrie has a complaint, and that is how they meet. And Deacon is so nice and goes to get her stuff when obviously she can't, because she is looking after her daughter. And they start to build this friendship, and it's such a good book and so nice to like read. And the relationship that Deacon starts to build with her daughter is just, I love it. Love this book. Highly recommend. Next one is Mercy by Sarah Kate. This is the 4th book in the Salacious Plays Club series, and I rated this 4 stars. This was my least favourite book in the series, but I still really enjoyed it. So this is an older woman, younger man romance. I think that's why I disliked it a bit, because personally it isn't my thing. It's the best one I've ever read, personally. But yeah, I can't really explain much of this without ruining the other books in the series, or you have to kind of read the others to understand what this is, like what I'm saying with this. So I can't really say much about it, but it was a really enjoyable read. And I do have a whole reading vlog on this, so if you want to hear me talking about it, you can go and check it out. Then last physical copy is Good Girl Complex by Elle Kennedy. I rated this 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but the only issue I have with it is that I feel like it is too similar to After, and I read After, and then I read another book, and then I read this one, and so I felt like I was reading After again for like the 4th time, and I don't want that. But like I said, I did enjoy it. Obviously I enjoy After, so it didn't surprise me that but I don't want another book but like After. If I want to read After, I'll just read After. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, like I said, I obviously enjoyed this because I enjoyed After, and it's so similar, but I would have liked something different. Like the whole bet thing, similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty much exactly the same, if that makes any kind of sense. If you read After and you read this, you kind of probably already know what I'm talking about. Okay, now for the books that I read on my Kindle. Okay, so the first one is The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. This was like the first book I read in the month, and I enjoyed this, but I was kind of disappointed by it. I felt like there's more potential there for it, really. Then there was In Her Pumpkin Patch by Alina Jacobs. So this, again, I enjoyed, but there was more potential for it, really. And I don't know if I was just a bit disappointed that I didn't read this in October. I felt like I had like a waste of opportunity to read it. Like I felt like I was a bit late, but I wanted to read it, so I read it anyway. The next one is What Was Meant to Be by QB Tyler. This I rated 5 stars. This love. This book is so good. So this, I can't remember the names. Oh no, I'm so bad at names. But basically, it's about our main character, and she has a crush on her godfather, and obviously her godfather is her parents' best friend from like high school. I think it's high school. Many years of friendship, and her godfather obviously notices that she's like grown up, and they start to like have this secret relationship for 2 years, but then he decides to break up with her and like go to a different country for a job because he's a doctor. I want to say, no, is he a doctor? Yeah, he's a doctor. And then he comes back once he hears about her engagement. And so she is now like, I'm in love with my godfather, but then I'm also engaged, so she's having to like, you know. But it's very, very interesting, and I love it. But it is very taboo, as you can probably hear from the description. So if you don't like tabooness, this is definitely not the book for you. But if you do, then this is definitely the book for you. Next one is Flawless. This I decided to rate, I think it was 4.75 stars. Wow. I didn't think I was into like cowboy romances, but this I enjoyed. It was so good. Loved it. I read it quite quickly and just wow. So this is about a cowboy, obviously, and he says something very discriminating for a sponsor. So he's obviously in like big trouble for that, and his manager, is it manager I want to say, gives him a babysitter to like make sure he doesn't get up to anything bad. That babysitter is his manager's daughter, and we all know where that can lead to. So yeah, that is basically what that is about. Then I read Unbreakable and Unforgettable by Melanie Harlow. So this is basically like is it the fourth and fifth book of the whole series. I don't want to ruin the whole series, but let me just tell you, they're very good. I rated them these 3 stars. Then I read The Devil by Jade. This was an interesting one. It was definitely something different from what I normally read. And I think I rated it 3 stars because that ending was shocking, and I want to read the second book, and I'm planning on doing that in December. Then I read Everything Is F, and this I rated, I think it was 2 stars. It was just an audiobook to listen to, and it wasn't really my thing. Then I finished Lola'S Missing. I actually started this in October, and then I just stopped reading it for a bit, and then I finished it because I was like, I have like less than 100 pages left, and so why don't I just finish it? And so I did. I rated it 3 stars. It was an enjoyable read, and it was very interesting. It did keep my attention for a very long time. And the ending was great. I was happy with the ending. I was happy with the whole book. And so, yeah, I felt like at times some things can drag on, and that is why I didn't rate it like 4 or 5. But otherwise, it was a good read. Then I read Santa's Baby by Cassie Donoghue, I want to say. Now, this I rated 1 star. Don't recommend. Just no. And that's what I'm going to say. Just no. I'm sorry, but not my thing. Then I read The Naughty, the Nice and the Nanny by Willa Nash, also known as Devoney Perry. So, this was a 5-star read. Loved it so much. So it's about, again, forget their names, but our main character, she is a nanny, and she gets hired to do this nannying job. And when she gets there, she's like, hold on, I know this father. They went to high school together, and yeah, and also his daughter is not very well behaved until our main character gets there. So yeah, love it. Very interesting. Then the last book I have to tell you about in this video is How a Ghost Stole Christmas. So this was a nice short novella that I wanted to kind of start with for Christmas, and I think I rated it 3 stars. It was very interesting, believe it or not. Consider it's a novella. It's good for a novella. It's kind of like a mystery, Christmassy kind of thing, and I love that so much. So yeah, that is the end of this video. Those are all the books that I read. I read quite a few, actually. I don't know how many I read. I'll probably write it in the title. But yeah, those are all the books. I think I had a really great reading month this month. I'm currently also reading The Song of Achilles, so I'm hoping to finish that. Because it's currently the 29th, but I don't know if we will or not. So, yes, those are the books I read in November. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe if you want. It's free, and hope to see you in my next video. Bye!